Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers. Coming up on today's episode, we'll talk Deshaun Watson getting back on the field and hopefully cutting it loose. And the Guardians remain red hot, beating the Mets again last night. Their second straight win over them, their fifth in a row overall. Can anybody stop the Guardians? Even though the stats show you they shouldn't be quite this good. It's hard to figure out, but the stats are getting better across the board. The starters, the hitters, and certainly the relief pitchers have been great all year. That's all coming up, plus more about my crazy eye. See, it's as crazy as it still looks. It's actually starting to clear up. All on today's edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers.
You're watching Adam the Bull on the BetRivers Network.
So I'm still dealing with the crazy eye. I got a little bit of a cold. It's the first time I've been sick, and it's minor. It's just a little bit of a cold here. First time in, I want to say, over a year, maybe 2 years. I'm such a neurotic person when it comes to washing my hands and not being around sick people that I haven't gotten sick. But I think we caught it through the Little League baseball team because I got a bunch of kids. 2 kids missed the game, my Little League game yesterday, Monday. Although we won. Nice 9-4 victory. Or 9-3, I think it was. And but a few of the kids got sick, so we're trying to make it through. Anyway, let's start with we'll get to baseball in a minute because I got a lot to say about the Guardians, but I want to start with the Browns. Deshaun Watson was on the field on Tuesday throwing, and he will throw again reportedly today. And, he looked good in practice for what it's worth. It's hard to really know. There's no threat of getting hit. There's no pressure. There's no pads. You're very free and easy in this situation. And he looked fine from what I saw on video. I wasn't there, so it looked fine. We're not going to know about Deshaun Watson until the season starts. We're not going to know in OTAs. We're not going to know in mini camp. We're not going to know in training camp. We're not going to know in practice. We're not even going to know in the preseason because who knows if he'll even play in the 3 preseason games. We won't know till the season starts, till we see him move, till we see him run, till we see him take hits, till we see him make throws. Big throws, clutch throws, down the field throws. We're not going to know. I saw a clip of Marcus Spears, longtime NFL player, defensive player, of course, who works for ESPN. And I like Marcus Spears. And he talked about Deshaun Watson and the fact that this is the make or break season for him. Some people may get sick of the fact that, whenever we bring up the Browns, that Deshaun Watson is the conversation. But what really else is there to talk about? You say it once, you say it a million times. Deshaun Watson is going to determine how good this season can be. You ask anybody that knows football, they'll tell you the Browns are a talented team. They'll tell you the Browns have one of the more talented rosters in the league. There's nobody that's going to debate you on that. You may debate where they are. Are they the best roster? Are they the 5th best roster? Minus quarterback. I don't know. That it's really hard to say. I know they're one of the better rosters in the league. But the question is, how good is the quarterback? Because the other teams with good rosters mostly have very good quarterbacks that you feel more comfortable about. There's no way to if you're saying you're completely comfortable with Watson heading into the season, I'll tell you, you're kidding yourself or you're conning yourself. There's no way you can be that confident because for 3 years, Deshaun Watson has mostly not played. Out of a possible 51 games in the last 3 years, Deshaun Watson has played in 11. The other 40 he's missed either holding out, suspension, or injury. And in the 11 games he's played, he's not played very well. You could look for whatever one statistic you want. His win-loss record's not bad. But come on, we all know the reality. The reality is Deshaun Watson has not played well when he's played, for the most part, for the last 3 years. His last Pro Bowl season in 2020 was a long time ago. And this feels like the last chance for Deshaun Watson to prove to everybody, including himself, that he is still that same guy. So, yeah, it's certainly a positive to see him throw the ball in training camp. I mean, in OTAs. Major positive, because he's coming off an injury that we've never really seen from a quarterback before. So the fact that he was out there throwing and looking, as good as he's going to look this time of the year, that's a positive. But it's just one small step on the way to getting back to where he needs to be. The Browns traded for Deshaun Watson not to be decent, not to be pretty good. They traded for him to be a star. How do I know that? They gave up a ton to get him, and they paid him a boatload of money. I don't bring it up as a rip of the Browns. I thought they did the absolute right move. Even if it doesn't work out, it was a no-brainer when they made the move. Because how could you have known it wouldn't work out? Your quarterback, you've decided, wasn't good enough. The Browns, I think, were absolutely right. Deshaun Watson had been fantastic in Houston. You had every reason to believe he was going to be fantastic here. Through 2 years, he hasn't been. So I don't kill the Browns for making that trade. I mentioned, what do you call it? Oh, I just forgot his name now. The guy on ESPN, I can't think of his name. I said it 5 minutes ago. No, come to me later. Anyway, when he talked about the Browns and said, Deshaun Watson, this is the last chance. This is the chance to turn it around. And if it doesn't happen, that it could be the worst trade in the history of football. Now, it's not the worst trade in the history of football because we have the Herschel Walker trade. But yeah, I mean, if Deshaun Watson doesn't turn it around again, then it's going to go down as an all-time bad trade. There's no doubt about it. How can you debate any other way if he doesn't have – it's not just about the Browns getting wins. That's ultimately the most important thing. You didn't trade for him to be along for the ride on those wins. You traded for him to lead you to dominant victories because that's what you thought, and that's what I thought, and that's what most of us thought he was capable of, and he hasn't been so far. So that's what's got to happen if this trade's going to be worth it, which to this point it hasn't. But it's not too late. This is the opportunity. This is the chance now still for Deshaun Watson to make it happen. And everybody in Cleveland, even if you hate the fact they traded for him and you don't like him, you're not being honest if you don't admit you want him to succeed. Even if you were the biggest Baker fan or pissed off about the off-the-field stuff, if you're a Browns fan, you want Deshaun Watson to succeed. And it has to happen this year. Because in my mind, if it doesn't this year, it's over. There's no way he turns it around 4 years later. I just don't see that happening. So it has to happen this year, or it's time to start looking for another quarterback. I don't want it to come to that. Hopefully it's not coming to that. I really want it to happen. We'll see. But we're not going to really know until the season starts. At this point, we're less than 4 months away. Less than 4 months away. Training camp is just 2 months away, right? Late July. That's it. Be here before you know it. 9 weeks. All right, folks, let me talk to you about the BetRivers app. Right now, some really cool things going on. The BetRivers app. The oh-so-close parlay insurance. Place a parlay of 4 or more legs on an NBA playoff game each day, and you get part of your stake back in bonus bets if you're exactly 1 leg short of hitting that parlay. So you bet a 5-leg parlay, you hit 4, you could get part of your stake back. The insurance is valid on your first NBA parlay of the day. See the BetRivers app for more details and to see how much stake back you're eligible for. Now let me talk about the team I'm most excited about right now in the city of Cleveland, and that is the sizzling hot Cleveland Guardians. When Stephen Kwan went down, I was really worried about this team. And they had a kind of a little bit of an ugly stretch, the one ugly stretch where they lost 4 out of 5, really 5 out of 7 between Atlanta and Houston in the first game of the Angels. Then they bounced back and won 4 or 5, but then they lost 3 in a row to the White Sox. First 3 games, a week and a half ago. And at that point, after losing that Saturday game to the White Sox, they were down to 24-16. They were 8 games over 500. And it was tied for the least amount of games they'd been over 500 since their big hot streak in the middle of April. And Kwan was out. The starting pitching hadn't been particularly great. And you're thinking, well, okay, maybe this is where they come back to reality and the Guardians start to struggle. Instead, the opposite has happened. They salvaged the final game of that series against the White Sox and have only lost 1 since, beating the Mets again last night 7-6 in a wild game that the Mets kept making close but never could come all the way back. The Guardians have won 5 in a row and 8 of 9, and they've beaten the defending World Series champs in Texas 2 of 3. They swept 3 from the previously red-hot Minnesota Twins, and now they've won the first 2 of a 3-game set against a decent Mets team. The finale this afternoon at 1:10. They then will go on the road against 2 bad teams in the Angels and Rockies and come home for Washington. So they really have a chance to pile up the wins here. They improved to a season-high 15 games over 500. 15 over. I'll tell you, I did not see this coming. The Guardians have now played 49 games. So we're almost at the quarter pole. By the end of this weekend, it's basically the quarter after the Angels game, or I think technically after the first game of the Rockies series, it'll be the quarter pole of the season. Last year, the Guardians' 2 best power hitters, Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor, only combined for 41 home runs. Jose hit 24, Naylor hit 17. With 5 days to go before the 1/3 point of the season, those guys have 24 homers. So they're on pace to hit about 75 between them. Again, they hit 41 last year. That is a huge difference. The Guardians finished dead last in home runs by a lot last season. They averaged 0.77 home runs per game. Only 3 teams in baseball last year averaged less than a home run per game. And the Guardians averaged 0.77. The second worst was Washington at 0.93. That's a big difference. That's how bad the Guardians were. So far this year, at almost the 1/3 pole, the Guardians are 11th in home runs per game, averaging 1.06. My man Tyvis Powell, his before the season, we all did, made bold predictions, things that maybe most people probably wouldn't expect to happen. And he said the Guardians would be at least middle of the pack in home runs, and right now they're way better than middle of the pack. They're averaging more home runs per game than the Braves, than the Rangers, than the Twins, than the Padres, the Cubs, Arizona, Cincinnati, who was a hot team coming into the season, Toronto, Tampa, and many other teams. 11th. And they're not far back of Boston and Seattle to get into the top 9. So it's been just a stunning turn of events. And they've been particularly good at home. In fact, the Guardians are 6th in baseball in home runs per game at home, averaging 1.36 home runs per game. Not great on the road, 0.81. That's on the lower end. Let's see where that ranks. They are, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th from the bottom. So not great on the road. Still not nearly as bad as last year. But to be this good at home, they've been so great at Progressive Field. Ramirez went deep yesterday, and David Fry once again comes through. He pinch hits, not in the starting lineup. Pinch hits for Kyle Manzardo, who had a double in his last at bat. And I'll be honest, as much as I'm on the Fry train right now, when Stephen Vogt made that pinch hitting move, I was like, you know what? Let Manzardo hit here and bat for Fry 2 batters later with Bo Naylor. But Vogt, who's pushed all the right buttons, it seems, this year, had a hunch. It went with Fry there. Fry hits a 2-run homer, extends the Guardians' lead yet again to make it 7-4. The Mets would eventually make it 7-6, and Clase would then shut the door. But it has been absolutely remarkable how good the Guardians have been. They are 6th in baseball in runs per game, averaging 4.81. Last year, they finished 26th at 4.09. That may not seem like a big difference. It's about 3/4 of a run per game. That is a huge difference. Huge. The Guardians have been a totally different ball club, and that's even with some holes in the lineup. If you look at the hits per game, the Guardians they're middle of the pack. They're 19th in hits per game, but they've been so clutch, and they've hit for power, and that didn't exist last year, and this year it has been just unbelievable. And if you look, I bet you they're near the top. I haven't even looked at this. Runners left in scoring position. Yeah, I was right. The Guardians have left 2.75 runners left in scoring position, 2.75 per game. That's 3rd best in baseball. Only Seattle and Miami which Miami makes no sense because they stink. I guess they just haven't had many runners on base. 3rd best in baseball. Runners left on, leaving the least amount of runners on base per game. This is you look at the game the other night where they, were a comedy of errors in the top of the 9th. Clase dropped the ball. Naylor made a throw behind Buxton in that Sunday game against the Twins. And last year, the Guardians blowing that lead, they would have lost the game in the 10th inning, and we would have been lamenting, how did they let that go and get away? Instead, they bounce back. Brennan hits a 3-run walk-off home run. They've been so clutch. They've been led by the middle of the lineup at Kwan, and they have not only survived, but thrived without Kwan, and hopefully he's getting close to coming back. I will say this. I think David Fry really needs to play just about every day. If you look at OPS, I mean, he's been their best hitter. Now, obviously, Naylor and Kwan and Ramirez have been better because they're playing more often. And they've done it with more at-bats. And Ramirez is just on fire right now. That home run he hit against the Mets yesterday, against Adrian Hauser, I mean, not a lot of guys can hit that. That ball's like up in his face. He looked like one of my Little League kids doing a tomahawk chop. One of the kids on my team did a tomahawk chop. He basically swung the bat like this and hit a double to left field. And that's what it felt like with Ramirez, because that ball was way up. To jack that ball out, I mean, he's just feeling it right now. He is on a big-time heater. And for the most part, the bullpen's been lights out. Gaddis did a great job again yesterday. Same with Clase. Gave up 1 hit, then got a double play. Barlow had a rough inning, gave up a couple of runs. But for the most part, the bullpen's been great. And in the end, they closed it down. I think Clase's got 15 saves now. Double check that. Yeah, 15 saves. He's on pace to get close to 50. Assuming he's here next year, which he better be, he has a chance to become the Guardians' all-time save leader by next year at some point. And let's credit the pitching too. I talked about the pitching. You look at this stretch where they've won 8 of 9. The pitching allowed 0 runs, 0, 4, 4, 2, 4, 2, 1, 6. Now, Carrasco did go on the IL yesterday. Got scratched from his start. Xavier Curry ends up getting a start coming up from the minors. He looked great through 4 innings. Got trouble in the The fifth, Sandlin did a great job. He walked his first batter he faced and then struck out the next two with the bases loaded to get out of it. But Hench has had a rough day. He gave up a couple of runs. He gave up a home run to it was his home run to Jeff McNeil, I think. I can't remember now. It was McNeil. And then Barlow gave up the home run to Marte. But the Guardians got the two home runs, as you mentioned, by Jose and Fry. And 2 hits from Ramirez total. Manzardo got a double. Will Brennan got a hit in this one. Rocchio got a hit. So, I mean, there's still some guys struggling in the lineup, and Josh Naylor's in his first slump of the season. But Freeman has done a much better job in the leadoff spot the last couple of days after they were getting nothing in the leadoff spot. Initially, when Quan got hurt, they were just getting nothing. But the last few days, Freeman's gotten hot. He's picked it up. They're playing great defense outside of the 9th inning on Sunday. They run the bases well for the most part. They've done a lot of really good things here, and this is a hell of a fun team to watch. And for them, and I like, Ben Lively continues to pitch well. McKenzie's been great since early in the season. Bybee with 2 great starts in a row. Logan Allen's had 2 strong starts in a row. And hopefully you get Gavin Williams and Stephen Kwan back soon. That'd be pretty nice. All right, thanks to everybody for joining. Thanks to everybody for watching. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit me with a thumbs up. Thanks to Monzo for producing. I'll be doing a live show tomorrow at 2 p.m. Back to the Thursday 2 p.m. lives tomorrow. So you could join me. You could jump in. You could be, on a call with me. Be live. Get your mug on the air. One more thing I want to tell you about the BetRivers app. If you think you know who's going to set the tone for the game, make that bet at BetRivers, and you'll pick up an extra bonus with the first bucket bet and get. Place a wager on who will make the first basket of an NBA game, like tonight. You got game 1 between Dallas and Minnesota. When you do, BetRivers will give you a profit boost to use on another bet. See the BetRivers app for full details on the first bucket bet and get. All right, thanks again to Monzo for producing. Talk to you next time. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers. See you, everybody.